Good evening, and welcome to another broadcast of In the Spotlight. And thank you for joining us for another week. I am Tabitha, your host, and welcome back again, like I said. So this week we're taking a different spin on some of the guests that we're having this evening. Usually we're covering business owners or nonprofits, and the list goes on and on. But this week we're shining a light on one of our community's unsung heroes. That we haven't had a chance to do. So I'm very pleased and very excited to showcase this guest on this evening. I have with us this evening Judge Paulina Havelka. And we are, as you know, located in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. And this is also a global show. So this show will also air global. So Judge Havelka is my guest for this evening. And Judge Havelka, thank you so much for being on In the Spotlight with us tonight.
It is my pleasure. Thank you.
So we're just going to give a little bit of background. Judge Havelka immigrated to the U.S. In the early 70s, was it, Judge Havelka?
Mid 80s.
Mid 80s. Did not speak a word of English at the age of 11 when she came from Poland. And she was wound up being a native New Yorker. And around 1988, her parents moved her to Charlotte. And in 1994, she became a mother. Is that correct?
Yes,
And then
ma'am.
in 1997, she became a mother again. And she is settled here, and her passion was to pursue law. And she began graduating from CPCC in 1998, UNCC in 2000, and Appalachian State School of Law in 2004, and had her own practice until 2018 before she was an elected judge. Judge Havelka, tell us a little bit about. I kind of threw out dates and things like that, and tried to plug in, that timeline. But give us some insight on that timeline a little bit. Take us back a little bit.
So I immigrated here in January of 1986. It was Poland was still communist at the time. My father took political asylum in 1981, and then my mother and I followed in 1986. We flew into New York City, which was a major culture shock from a small town of Poland. And I lived in New York City until June of 1988 and began. I graduated middle school there, but middle school there only goes to the 8th grade. In
Oh,
the South, it was to the 9th grade. And so I returned back to middle school for the 9th grade and ultimately finished high school here. After high school, I kind of lost my way. At 19, I had my son, I was married. And little by little, I took courses at Central Piedmont. But my passion for law really came as a deputy courtroom clerk in Mecklenburg County. I was in criminal court, really enjoyed what I saw, and just fell in love with it. And then I got really serious about school. So I finished Central Piedmont, immediately started UNC Charlotte, and then ultimately I ended up in Grundy, Virginia at Appalachian School of Law. So it's not actually App State.
okay.
Um, Graduated in 2004, but really the passion came from the clerk's office. But education, not that it wasn't important to me, but I just didn't take it very seriously until I sort of figured out what it is I want to do and what it took to get there.
Right, right. And and I kind of look at tonight kind of like a message of hope with everything that's going on in the climate of the country with, Russia and Ukraine. I thought it would be great to have you on to kind of because you understand, what that all feels like. And I kind of wanted to give our viewers a little insight on maybe what the Ukrainian country may be feeling from your point of view?
So, well, you know, first and foremost, obviously, I think our hearts go out to any country and any citizens that have to worry about food, water, shelter, and being bombed and shot at. So I certainly feel for the people of Ukraine. I'm extremely proud of my country, my former country, stepping up and taking on almost 2 million refugees at this point. It's incredible to think that we're able to do that. And it's my understanding that it's actually the Polish citizens doing it and not just the government. So I'm very proud of the people of Poland. But it's also important to understand the history and the background of Ukraine and Russia. Unlike Poland, that was generally independent, although it was communist for a period of time after World War II, Ukraine was always generally a part of Russia. And I think it's important to note that there had been agreements made between the big countries, the most powerful countries during World War II, that we're not going to be taking certain positions and sort of knocking on each other's backyards, if that makes sense. So when Poland joined NATO in the 90s, frankly, the Russian government was already a bit upset. As far as they saw it, it was a threat because we were basically in the Eastern European backyard. So I think it's important to understand the history, to understand that Ukraine, in the mind of Putin, is his territory, even though it's an independent country. So it's hard. I appreciate a leader of a country, a major country such as Russia, a big power country historically, that where by Ukraine potentially joining NATO, it's a great threat to Russia and their border, and of course the Communist Party. At the same time, it's just painful to watch, the lengths that I guess Russia is going to in order to, reestablish their power in that region. So, I generally speaking, anytime I see anybody in conflict, it's heartbreaking, and it is still very much heartbreaking. Even though I'm going to say that the truth of the matter is that. This is sort of a sibling quarrel between Ukraine and Russia. And the question becomes, what happens when the regime falls and who takes after? And the only thing I can think of is the drive or the motivation behind Putin's actions is mainly the fact that Ukraine was always considered their backyard. So I'm not justifying it. I'm just simply trying to understand it myself, because I still cannot believe that in the 21st century, we have, millions of people trying to escape an area in order to stay safe and save their lives. And the fact that there are Russians that live in Ukraine and speak the Russian language. So he's, arguably killing his own people right now. And that's tragic. But, historically, it's hard to say whether or not it's something that we should be as involved in politically anyway. I don't mean as far as aid, but politically, I'm not sure that right now is the best time to act. I think what we've done with tariffs and impositions, financial and economic, certainly suffice. I'm afraid that our involvement will mean more death to our military. We've just finished with Iraq and Afghanistan. So it's heartbreaking. No matter how you look at it, no matter how you view it, it's just heartbreaking.
It is, and I thought, what better guest to come on to be able to, we usually don't, get to talk about these things on in the spotlight, but I thought that it was time to bring up a current event and to have someone come on that would be able to kind of, give us that insight on maybe, what it feels like, with your background. And I thought that was also important to be able to show our viewers that outside of a courtroom, you're just human like we are, and you've had these trials and tribulations, but you've pulled yourself up from the bootstraps. And I have to say, you're just one of the most sweetest, most humblest human beings I could know. And I find you just so smart and thorough and accurate. And I just want you to know that I have always felt like that. And I think that that is important for our viewers to know, that we have people on the bench, such as yourself, you know, out there advocating for the community's best interests. So I definitely wanted to make sure that that was out there, and that you knew exactly how I felt. And I thought that it would be important, for you to just come on and share. As I know, did you, weren't you a single mother at one point?
Yes,
And and also to give that message of hope for, for our viewers. There's women there, even men that are out here, trying to do this thing called life on our own, right? We're single mothers, we're working, we're trying to get our education. And I thought that it was important for you to just give us a little bit of hope on letting them know that, that they're not alone. And then if you could do it, we could do it too. Can you just touch a little bit on that before we go to our commercial?
sure. Well, I think it's important to note that baby steps lead to leaps and bounds. I think it's very easy to get discouraged. But the truth of the matter is that it takes baby steps in order to get to the bigger steps. And then, of course, the achievements or goals that you have set for yourself. I was a bit lost. I didn't have any goals until I became a mother. And my first pregnancy, I remember thinking to myself, my God, what am I going to offer my kids? Because I was lost. Of course, I took being a mother very seriously. I certainly had a great example of that. As you mentioned, I was married for a very short period of time. I was married 4 years, married in 94. My divorce was final in 98, and I had my daughter in 97. So if it wasn't for my mom, I'd honestly be lost. I think if I took anything from a life lesson, it's that, and I've had conversations with other judges about this. It is so important to remember your roots, to appreciate your parents and what they try to teach you. I know when you're a teenager, you always think, they're against us because they're not allowing us to do whatever it is we want to do. The truth of the matter is they're protecting us and they're trying to steer us in the right direction, because 9 times out of 10, they see the pitfalls before we do, as young people. So I think baby steps, don't get discouraged. One failure doesn't define you. And if there's one thing I know about successful people in general is, and you write this on social media quite a bit. I really love your quotes. You don't give up. You never give up, and you have to take the day as a new day and a new opportunity to make a difference, however small or big, and take advantage of the opportunities that are before you. There's always something that we would rather do, such as, I don't really want to leave the house. I want to, sit at home. But you never know if that outing or that, nonprofit organization that's putting something together will lead to something greater. You just don't know until you try. And getting involved, and getting to be around people, I think that's key, that support you and actually want to see you succeed is the best thing you can do for yourself, because you tend to find friends in times of need, true friends. There's always going to be those around you when things are going great, but
Right.
you find that only a few are around whenever you're down. So I think it's important to know your inner circle and who your real friends are.
And that is so true. And I try to always say, I got on the boat late. I let a lot of years pass me by, for my own insecurities, lack of education, bad marriage. We've all been there, right? But at the end of the day, I'm just going to keep trying until I can't try anymore. And we are going to break for a commercial, but when we come back, Judge Havelka is going to tell us how she is trying and what she's trying to do in 2022. We here at WYTV 7 are always empowering, encouraging, and educating our guests one viewer at a time. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back after these commercial messages.
You're invited to the Smart Strategies for a Slim Body Masterclass hosted by Integrative Healing Arts and Simply Fit. Throughout the demonstrated masterclass, you'll learn healthy habits that will slim you down, like making time for exercise and finding a quiet place for meditating. Throughout the masterclass, you'll learn about acupuncture and sleep, as well as balanced meals and responsible snacking. For more information about the May 21st masterclass, just click the registration link that you see on the screen.
Thank you so much, and welcome back to the second half of In the Spotlight. I'm Tabatha Collins, and again this evening I said that we were shining a light of message of hope and our future, and we're spotlighting one of the unsung heroes of our community, which is Miss Paulina Havelka, Judge Paulina Havelka. Judge Havelka, thanks so much again for being back on the second half of the show. And as I stated before at the beginning of the show, this year our theme is educating, empowering, and encouraging our viewers. And our theme here at WYTV7 is I'm trying this year in 2022. What are you trying to do with that educating, empowering, and encouraging theme in your mind? Could you tell us?
Well, I think the number one thing, sometimes I fail to recognize my own journey and the challenges I faced. We tend to get caught up in the now and we forget how far we've come. So the one thing that I would say to anybody that's watching this is don't let today define you. Life is a long journey. And one day, trust me, is not going to make or break you. Um, the other one is that, I always wanted to inspire and to think that an immigrant who didn't speak any English managed to finish law school and ultimately, live her dream of becoming a judge, which is something I dreamt about 25 years ago as a clerk. Even today, it's sort of surreal to me that I'm living that dream. But the key was that, you never give up. You're always going to stumble. And one of my favorite songs and lyrics from a song is you dust yourself off and you keep going. And as hard as that can be sometimes, it's okay. The bad moments don't define you. What defines you ultimately is whether or not you ever gave up. And I volunteered quite a bit in women's groups, Council for Children's Rights. I did a lot of work with domestic violence victims. And, I think the biggest message I have for anybody is, yes, you're good enough. Yes, you can. And baby steps will get you there. Do not get discouraged. One baby step is not going to make the whole journey go away. It's just a day. It's just a step. And just like babies, you start out wobbly, but you end up running before it's all over. And that's exactly what I believe all of us are capable of. And I'm always there to encourage women, especially. We tend to have a lot of responsibilities on us, and we juggle a lot of things in life. And so sometimes we take a back seat to ourselves. Our children take the spotlight, or husbands, or marriages, for that matter, our parents, especially elderly parents who need help. Somewhere in there, don't forget yourself. It's never too late. And again, one foot in front of the other. That's all you can do.
And I think that it's important for people to know because sometimes, people look at status and, what someone does for a living, and they come up with their own preconceived notion of that person. And I think that it's important, that we can also show that, judges and lawyers and doctors and the fireman, the police officer are human too. We've had a lot of controversy, surrounding, police, here in the recent years. And, good cop, bad cop, and I think that it's, and as in anything, you always have, good with the bad. And I think that it's important that, people understand that, sometimes they have to understand, they need to understand that, you're in a job, in a position where you have to follow the law. That's your oath. That's what signed up to do, just as well as a doctor, signed up to do no harm. And, the police officers protecting the people. And I think sometimes people want to lump it all together and take out the fact that, we're human. We have a job, 9 to 5, but there's a human side. And realize that to be able to do this, you have to have a passion, you have to have a heart, and you have to be, touchable and care about people and in the community. And I think that it's important, and it was a good idea to share that and show that, that side of, you and others that have come on, so the community can understand that it's not just, you're trying to be hard-hearted, or, or whatever, but there is a line that you cannot cross. So I'm so glad that we're getting the opportunity to be able to show the other side,
Yes, ma'am.
so to speak. So is there anything else that you would like to put out there for our viewers to know about you or your career, or anything coming up in the community that you would like them to get involved in or plug into?
I like I said, I thought to do this 25 years ago, and I never lost sight of the fact that anybody that stands in front of me could have been me, especially during the years before I became a mother. Again, that's sort of when my gravity pulled me in, and where my reality check happened. And again, that for some people it happens later, for some people it happens sooner. But the bottom line is, I am human, and I do recognize the challenges that we have, especially in today's day and age, between the work schedule, the children's soccer games, and you want to afford them all the opportunities that you weren't afforded. You have to work. You have to be able to come home and cook dinner and have the groceries ready. And, we run out of time. Elder parents, my father passed during my election year in 2018. And I remember when he first got sick in 2009, one of the judges called me up to the bench and said, "Welcome to becoming the parent." And I was like, "I'm not ready." I don't want to be my dad's parent. I want my dad to be my parent. But it resonated with me, and it made me realize that, as much as I idolized him because he was my father, there came a moment in time where I genuinely became the caregiver because he couldn't take care of himself. So all I'm saying is we all play a role, regardless of what our job title is. And I take that to the bench with me every day. I try to think of whatever somebody is struggling with or dealing with. I have to follow the law. That is what I took an oath to do. And I work very hard at ensuring that, because believe me, there are times when Paulina wants to maybe do something different. And the law requires me to do something different. So, we are human. We do struggle. We do feel. But again, like you said, we have a job to do. And everybody depends on that consistency. And if I'm not consistent in administering that law, then frankly, I'm not doing the community or anyone any favors, because basically you are at will, and I'll do whatever I want to do. And that's not what a judge is supposed to do. I do take my job very seriously, as you know. We've had some, personal interactions together, and that's my goal. I'm not out there to hurt anybody. I would love to do nothing more than to help them. Sometimes the law prevents me from doing that because it's not the right thing to do. But that does not mean that I'm not human and that I don't understand. And I think the biggest thing is treating people with respect. As long as they feel like they've been heard, and as long as they feel like I've given them the opportunity they needed to air things out, 9 times out of 10, they walk out, feeling a whole lot better. But I focus on the community, staff well, because they also have families, and they also want to go home, and they have children to pick up from daycare. And I think if you treat others the way that you would want to be treated, it pays dividends. And those dividends are paying back to me right now. Just for the simple fact that I was invited to do this show. I'm honored to be here. I thank you. I know how hardworking you are and how dedicated you were to doing what you did on the ninth floor for us. I know that you're now on to the next endeavor, and I wish you all the best. But Tabatha, I have people in my law school that were over 50. And I say that for no other reason than to say it's never too late to go to school. It's never too late for a second career, and it's never too late to pamper yourself.
And I am so glad that we had an opportunity this tonight to do this message of hope for anyone out there that feels like it's, they're too old or it's too late. It's never until you're not breathing, you
That's right.
have an opportunity every morning to get up and to do something to achieve your goals and your dreams. Judge Havelka, I appreciate you being on the show so much tonight. And I cannot think of a sweeter, nicest, more kinder human being than yourself.
And I hope I'm making a difference, and I hope I'm contributing something positive to the community that, this is my backyard, this is my home, and this is my country. So thank you. I'm honored.
Thank you so much for being on. Now, just a little tidbit, world. You cannot go down to the courthouse, wherever county this is, and think you're going to talk to Judge Havelka. We all have protocols to follow, so just go to those handles and no pop-up visits, please. But Judge Havelka, thank you so much again. And I want to give I am Tabatha, Tabatha, spotlight at Gmail. We are WYTV7. We are a nonprofit based organization out of Charlotte, North Carolina. This show does air globally. And if you feel so inclined to donate to our show, again, we are a nonprofit. We also, go by these donations. You can reach me at 980-907-3136. If you would like to be on the show, we're wrapping up my first season of In the Spotlight. We'll be coming back in the fall with new insight, new guests, new adventures. Please give me a call if you want to reach out and see if you could come on, tell your story. We're here for the community, messages of hope, nonprofits, small entrepreneurs, own businesses, whatever you have, I am here to shine the light on, because what we want to do is make sure people can see the good that's going on. And no matter what's going on in the world and the country, that there's still good in everyone. And I just want to make sure that I spotlight that, so men can see all. And thank you again, Judge Havelka. Again, wonderful to have you on. I'm so honored and blessed that you were here tonight. And please join me. My show is every Thursday evening, Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. You can catch us by logging into the website, or you can catch it on YouTube. Please like, share, and share the show. Leave your comments. We love to have you feedback. And thank you so much for being a part of this evening. And thank you for being in the spotlight. Have a good evening and take care, and God bless. See you next week.
Thank you so much.